Welcome, welcome. You're listening to the Drink a Little podcast, where we talk about exploring the world of wine and spirits while not letting it take over your life. My name is Kelly Doherty. I'm a joyful child of God and a certified life coach. I'm also a wine educator and a wine and spirits brand designer. I'll show you how you can navigate your relationship with alcohol and how that mindset spills over into the rest of your life. We'll learn about the world of wine and spirits together, all while bolstering your confidence that you can have boundaries around alcohol and live your most amazing life. This is episode number 39. I'm calling it Fighting Stags. We're looking at the Stag's Leap, Napa Valley, Sauvignon Blanc. And how this works is first we taste a unique wine at the top of the show, and something about the character of that wine, the label of the wine, or the story leads us into talking about how to live your most abundant life while not over drinking, but enjoying the savoring, the fruits of the vineyard. So Stag's Leap is more well known for their Napa Valley reds, especially Cabernet. And so this wine is a fun one. It's a 2018, and it was the first vintage of their Sauvignon Blanc. So we're going to taste this one right off the bat because I have a story to tell you behind the label that will lead us right into our topic of the day. So let's just put this one into our glass, give it a little swirl, and taste it right now. Okay. Just smelling it, it really does have the kind of the tropical, classic Sauvignon Blanc flavors. You've got passion fruit, lemon, of course. Lemon is like the go-to. When you don't know what to say about a white wine, say lemon, lemon zest. Sounds fantastic. There's a lot of citrus in here. There's some white floral notes, and just melon, passion fruit. This is gorgeous, fresh, and yet has some structured body to it. So I looked this up, and they actually did a little bit of barrel fermentation with it. And we've talked about barrel aging with Chardonnays on the white side, and obviously barrel aging with a lot of reds that builds structure and get some of those oak characteristics into the wine. Now this one is barrel fermented, but not barrel aged. So it will be a very short period of time in barrel when it's going through its process of fermenting and becoming wine. So this is probably just a couple weeks in the barrel, but it's almost giving it like a savory characteristic while keeping that crispness. And it's so hard to grab those words out of the air and figure out what that is, but I feel like it's almost like a white pepper characteristic, but it's still so fresh and crisp for spring. And it has a little more complexity, I would say, than a typical like New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc. So definitely worth checking into later vintages of this. I have the 2018, so it's been on hand for quite a while, but I wanted to talk about this fascinating brand because of the legal issues between this winery and another very similarly named winery. And so this wine, if you're looking at it on YouTube, or you can Google one of these, this is Stag's Leap, and there is an apostrophe after the S. And there is a black and white drawing, beautiful drawing, kind of old-timey of a stag jumping in nature and a vineyard in the background, supposedly Napa Valley in the background. And so it's a beautiful label. And the challenge is there is another winery putting out wines from Napa Valley called Stag's Leap Wine Cellars, and the apostrophe is before the S on their label. It also has a black and white drawing of it of a stag. It's facing in a different direction, and it's not actually leaping. It's standing next to a tree, but even right next to each other, these labels look surprisingly similar. And they're both in Napa Valley. They both started in the early 1970s. So the one we are not drinking is Stag's Leap Cellars. And they were actually winners in that Judgment of Paris 1976 famous blind tasting that put California on the map. Now, episode 12, if you go back to episode 12 of Drink a Little, we talked about Chateau Montelena producing the Chardonnay at this blind tasting. And Stag's Leap Wine Cellars, with the apostrophe before the S, is the famous Napa winery known for producing a Cabernet at that Judgment of Paris. So that Cabernet beat some of the top Bordeaux reds in all of France. So because of Stag's Leap Wine Cellars and Chateau Montelena, they really put California on the map. So that is the other wine. Stag's Leap Wine Cellars is not the one we're drinking, but Stag's Leap, looking very similar, is the one we're drinking. Both of these are beautiful, flawless Napa Valley wines, but the former did sue the latter. So the ones that won the Paris tasting sued the one we're tasting today for the rights to the name, because both wineries were basically founded at the same time. And this case went all the way to the California Supreme Court. And they determined that both had the right to use the name because they were founded at the same time, and that the resolution would be that they would move this apostrophe. So that these people were drinking today had to move their apostrophe to after the S, and they thought that would solve it for the public. We'd really notice that on the grocery store shelf. Well, it's very challenging to notice it even if you know the story and know what you're looking for, but be mindful of what you're picking up and Google that when you're in the store, depending on what you are looking for. That all being said, these are both amazing wineries, and I just tasted this wine today. It's flawless, it's fresh, it's got character, it's got complexity. And so after all of this, the California Supreme Court, the wineries did become friends. And, you know, not a lot of industries that happens in. Wine is kind of a unique industry where we're all in this together. It's actually a very small worldwide industry. And I think people really want each other to win. So even though no one won that lawsuit, the wineries did become friends, and in one season in 1985, they made a wine together with grapes from each estate, and they called it Accord, like Honda Accord or Peace Accord, which makes sense in this case. So I have not been able to get a hold of one of those bottles, but it's a fascinating story. So just let me know if you ever see one. They did it just for one season, so I don't know if those are around, but what a beautiful message to be able to go through those legal battles and come out and say, okay, we both have space inside of Napa Valley and we agree to disagree, and we still respect each other's wineries and each other's wines. So with that story, where does that leave us on Drink a Little? And this is going to sound a little off the wall where I'm going today, but I'm going to the place of forgiveness with the message today. And if these two stags that were locking horns in their businesses can forgive each other and make a wine together called Accord and continue side by side for decades with their similar names and very expensive vineyard land, we can probably learn to forgive each other too. But I don't take it lightly. The reason I'm talking about forgiveness on a podcast called Drink a Little is because when I get to talking to people about why they're drinking more than they really want to be drinking on the regular, one of the things that crops up for many people is holding a grudge or dwelling on things that happened in the past and not forgiving. And these are things that if we don't process through them, they pile up and can contribute to us not moving forward in our lives and drinking for the sake of blocking out our own feelings and not dealing with things. So this comes up a lot. You are not alone if this is hitting a nerve with you. And I have been paging through a book called Forgive by one of my favorite authors, Timothy Keller. It's stunning. It's challenging. And this is by no means a topic where we become a doormat and just forgive the blanket of things or that we condone things that were wrong. But Keller provides insight about a combination of forgiveness as you are seeking justice, and that we don't combine love and justice in our dealings with others. If we don't combine those two things, love and justice, we will ultimately have neither. And just to sit with that was really challenging for me. And what we're really talking about here are not things on the legal scale, not things on the winery side. These are those interpersonal things that we're holding on to that are hurting only us. And true to our drinking theme, Keller actually quotes Carrie Fisher, Princess Leia in here. And she says, resentment is like drinking poison and then waiting for the other person to die. Whew. Ouch. So what does it tell you that there's a whole book called Forgive? To me, it says it's a big topic, and we technically know it's a good idea to forgive. We intellectually know that even when we're quote unquote right or have been wronged by someone, we intellectually know that forgiving would help us. We would definitely feel freer, right? And we know when we harbor animosity or hate or a grudge, we know that it only hurts us. It hurts us physically, emotionally, energetically, and spiritually. And just because we intellectually know something doesn't mean we're putting it into practice at all. And so my question in seeking out this topic is why? Why are we not putting forgiveness into practice? And it's because it's hard. It's because it's inconvenient. It's because it seems sometimes like an unsolvable mountain. I get it. And what I've learned is, what I'm still learning in this Forgive book, is that forgiveness is a practice before it's a feeling. And I'm all about the feelings. And this is actually something that you begin to do. You practice forgiveness bit by bit daily, intentionally, with the intention that your heart will soften. And then you can begin to feel that softness and that freedom. So it's not a matter of convincing yourself to feel the feeling of forgiveness just because you think that's what you're supposed to do. It's to consciously override and practice it. And in the practicing, that feeling will emerge. I mean, you want to move forward exponentially in your life with ease of moving through this world. I know this about you. Forgive yourself. This is the place to start. You know all the things. Start small, be intentional. And then once you have the practice of forgiving yourself, you can practice forgiving anyone else that is taking up space in your mind, taking up space in your heart, because that space is really designed to create beautiful things. It's designed to imagine beautiful things. And I know that each individual is unique, and each scenario of the things we're holding on to are unique. I also know you do have the strength and the wisdom to move beyond your nature and take those steps to forgive. Take those steps that seem unnatural at first. So it's going to be that awkward practice of starting and stumbling and thinking it's not working and questioning before things soften or smooth out. Of course. And I'm in no way saying call up your kindergarten friend that stepped on your toe and tell them that you forgive them, because the reception might be icy. This is something you're doing inside your heart. I'm saying forgive them in your heart to be able to let go of it. And I may have said this before, but it bears repeating. Write these things down. I've written letters to people who are no longer here because I still deal with those emotions, and emotions of missing and emotions of forgiveness. Those are things that are just for me, and I can write them out just for my process. And that writing is so very powerful. Let it be messy. It's okay. This is for you. It's not for anyone else. I have so much more on this topic. If you want to talk about it, contact me personally. I would love to talk to you about it. As always, please forgive me for any errors, omissions, mispronunciations for sure in the wine world. I hope we are on this journey together, and I'm so thankful for this space and this time with you. Please share this with others, and I would greatly appreciate your review of this podcast if you enjoyed it. I want to share with you next week, while you're working on your forgiveness, we're going to a Sicilian place. We're going to taste a wine from Sicily, a white wine called Nostru. It's got a donkey on the label, and this should be a fun one. If you are working on forgiveness and balancing your drinking to live your most abundant life, I do teach to a deeper level. I have a one-on-one coaching program tailored to your needs where we cover how to stop over drinking, how to love yourself for all the right reasons, and emotional well-being. DM me on Facebook or Instagram, or go to kellydoherty.com/cheers to learn more. I'll see you next week.